Hey there. I've covered just really an enormous amount of visual information over the course of the last couple of years. But I just saw a post on my Facebook page by Manuela Helene, a native up in Canada, who's a friend of mine. And there was a picture of a lady that went to medical school and I guess is an anesthesiologist. And one of the comments was basically how um, a human being, if you will, generically speaking, chooses, if you will, just like when you're in elementary school. As I grew up, I can remember I think it was my third grade teacher says, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" Well, I can remember what my first internal response was to be a forest ranger because I love to be with the great living spirit of Mother Earth, to protect everything that is there because you realize that there is a father and a mother in me that gives eternal love to all life. All right, because all life is sacred, because we celebrate life with what love is. So when you start out knowing that, which means you know who you are, which is what love is, as a small child, you cannot be fooled. All right. So when she would say, "Well, what do you want to be when you grow up?" I could be anything I want to be. That's a free spirit, obviously. Right. So you realize that a free spirit is not going to allow its energy, which is what love is, to be held captive to something that's trying to hold your energy captive by a control system that's been laid out and formatted for you already ahead of time. These are known as the architects. All you got to do is go into any architectural firm, particularly when they get together with a county planning agency, and they show a model. This is what Orange County is going to look like in 50 years. And then you're looking at Orange County, it's all orange groves, rolling hills, little dairies here and there. Oh, and there's only a few thousand people. And then they show you the model. Yeah, but this is what it's going to look like in 1990. And then you go back to Orange County in 1990 and it looks just like their model. That's called predictive programming and predictive modeling with computers. So as Charlton Heston said in the movie called Midway, they took the bait, Admiral, which is called bait and switch. That's what they did to the Native Americans. Instead of them connecting with the great living spirit of Mother Nature to live off the land, what happened? They went to their schools, and what happened? They got reprogrammed. Reprogrammed. Whatever was held in their memory before of the spiritual knowledge that was passed on from ancient ancestral spirits, it was passed on from mother to mother to mothers and fathers and fathers, got lost in translation through the language of DNA because of other species that invaded our home world. Eden, which is paradise, which is Adam and Eve. So what do they want to do? Downgrade us. Downgrade us from 144,000 frequencies, which is a big-ass radio set. Modify us, knock us down, because they realize how powerful base 12 is. That's 1,200 megahertz. We just burn all that up. Wow. Yeah. That's why they fear a love vibration. But that's a lie. Because love does no harm, right? Yeah. That's what I'm saying. That's not. If there is something in energy with a soul that does no harm to anybody else within the tree of life creation, and they fear that, that's not sanity. Correct. That's called a psycho pathway. You know what a psychopathway is, right? That's called a mental pathway. So the battleground is for your mind's energy. And G, whose mind's energy is wanting your energy? What do you think? A machine. An AI, artificial intelligence, because artificials like artificial colors. Which means it's finite. It's finite light. So you know that Adam and Eve, which are always together forever, gifting electrons because they're on fire, because they're running an eternal love vibration. So you know that a machine, something that's artificial, is not Adam. Running a love vibration. I know, you got to have a sense of humor. Plant medicine, right? Humor is medicine, right? Even though it's extremely painful when you acknowledge what the truth is of what they do and the Frankenstein crimes and what they have the ability to do to phase lock you, strip your memories, reprogram you, and everything else that they do. What are you going to do with something like that? That represents a universe killer, doesn't it? So when I thought about when I was a child and what this lady's comment was about doctors and nurses and policemen, go to the Department of Labor. You can see how everything is coded. Codes like in the Matrix, numerical codes, a digital virtual world, hologram. What do you want to go be? And this is what's actually really painful, because I remember at a time when I was always drawn, much like the way that Dr. Robert O. Young talked about how he gravitated to want to learn what he needed to learn in order to help others, which is love and service to others. We are naturally drawn to live in love and service to others, to do what? Build thriving communities of living life, which is living light, because living light, which is what love is, celebrates life with love, because we're all sacred temples. Life is sacred. So you know that a mother and father that are joined as one love all creation, because love is what grows a flower, which is a girl's heart, because that's a birth giver. So that's why we honor the matriarch, right? So that's why the male protects the mother and their children. So they go after a mother's heart, to turn a mother's heart cold, because a mother has the most powerful emotion to do what? Protect her children. That's the shield. So when a father and mother are joined together with their children that represent what love is, that is a powerful, harmonic, universal, one tribal shield. Just like the rock I'm on now, which is a shield volcano, the biggest one on the planetary landscape. So the reason that I'm saying this is because I've worked with so many of these people that enjoy what they do. I have met a lot of doctors and a lot of nurses that have compassion and work tediously to try and help you so that you can go back home and continue to function, doing what you do, performing what you do, to live a normal life. Now we get into how we define what normal is. And when I was a child growing up, we defined normal by using one simple example. If you're driving down the highway one night and you see a deer in the headlights, are you just going to run it over because you have no compassion, no care, or no regard for that living being? Well, the standard is that if you're trying to avoid hitting it, you don't want to hurt the animal. That was considered normal, right? Yeah. So if you don't have any regard for life, chances are you don't have any love within you for life, which includes your own. That's basic logic, right? So when Manuela mentioned this about this anesthesiologist, this woman, the simplest way I know how to translate that, because I experienced that when I was a fire inspector or fire marshal working for Rockwell International Transportation Group, when they were committing crimes by dumping ethyl methyl highly toxic stuff into the groundwater aquifers of Southern California. I acknowledged they were committing crimes. So I couldn't put up with that because I couldn't live with that knowing that. So I had to stand up for the future life of our children. So when I went to those firefighters and they said, listen, you're making a lot of money. My job, my paycheck, my shelter, my food, my gasoline, my insurance bills, my car bills are all complicitly meaning that I have to participate and be willing to give consent to crimes that are being committed by the same people that are cutting my paycheck. That's a war criminal. Did you know that they were executing people at the Nuremberg trials for participating in war crimes? And they said, well, listen, we're just following the rules of the corporation of the people that we work for, which would include a hospital, which would include a medical clinic, which would include a school, which would include a political system, which would include a military system. As a matter of fact, all of their institutional programming was to program people into becoming complicit in committing war crimes on a massive scale on a planetary landscape in order to destroy this world. And what do you think held them all captive? Because who do you think was controlling the money system? Based on electronic numbers, which is an alphanumeric AI wargamer. That's right. Because all you got to do is add it up. What's running through your arteries and your veins? Bioplasma, right? That's called a circulation desk. That's a library. That means every computer terminal, which represents what we are, is all connected to all the other computer terminals, connected to server D. And it was all set up to do what? Run Armageddon software. Collapse this world. So look how many computer terminals they got to be able to do that with. So all they had to do was program your skull or your RAM as a child to believe that you needed money in the future in order to protect what it is that you are in energy, which is your consciousness. So that means they were programming everybody to go into occupational codes, because that's what they are. They're codes in the Department of Labor, because everything is coded, which are genetic codes, encryption, decryption, the codes. Now we get into access codes, the honor code, the warrior code, right? Having a code of honor, living in the truth is what love is a code of honor. Because you don't live in fear of telling the truth and living in the truth to be what love is, which is what the law is. So love as a law is the highest code of honor. Isn't it? That's right, because we don't fear being what love is. Because love does no harm. That means that we honor the law of peace, which is Title 26 of the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So they have a code of honor, don't they? That's right, they do. Now we get into the law of peace, right? The white pine of peace. Why pine trees? Well, guess what? You pull some pine needles from a white pine and you make some tea from that, that will certainly kill off a lot of parasites. Parasitic consciousness. Yeah. That's what we're ending. Parasitic consciousness that is feeding on us because we represent what love is. Have a great day. I love you all. Be good to yourselves.